Hi folks, welcome back to my dining room. Today we're going to be doing a quick little run through of all the seeds that I started for my fall and winter garden this year. Just a little background before we get started. I moved into this property in 2020 is when I bought it. So I've been gardening here for about 2 years. And with that short amount of time, I am definitely still learning the microclimates, you know, the yearly temperature fluctuations, my highs, my lows, etc., etc. So I am nowhere near an expert on this property yet, but I do live in the desert Southwest. It is very hot. It is very dry. My zone is 8A. And my last year's fall garden didn't turn out as well as I thought it was going to. The best I can surmise is that I planted everything too late in the season, and since I live in the high desert, about a little over 4,000 feet above sea level, we get really cold nights and really hot days. So it can be, you know, 90 degrees during the day and then drop to the 50s at night. So when I planted last year in the fall, I planted too close to my first frost date, which didn't give the plants time to establish, and then the nights were just too cold and they were growing too slowly. It wasn't a complete and total failure, but definitely not what I had wanted. So this year I started most of my plants earlier because I had a shade cloth to cover the whole garden and keep the temperature down. And so far so good. I just uploaded a garden tour, which you guys can check out, and I will also link down below or put a card up. But without further ado, let's get started with all of the seed varieties I'm growing this year. So we're gonna start with the alliums, which is basically the onions, everything in the onion family that I'm gonna be growing this year. Last fall, I did grow the Texas early grano onion from seed in the raised bed. So I did not start these seeds inside, I just threw them out there, and almost 100% germinated. It was amazing. They did very well. They grew all winter, and I harvested them this spring. So I'm growing this again. I'm also trying this new onion, the Violet de Gaume, maybe. So this is a new variety. I don't know anything about it. I do have both red and white bunching onions, which I grew last year. I just sprinkle these in spare places in the garden. I don't really plant them intensively for a large harvest. And for the first time this year, I am trying leeks. So I'm trying both the American flag leek and the King Richard leek. I also ordered seed garlic from a company called Fillory Garlic Farm. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. They haven't arrived yet, but my general time for planting onions and garlic is going to be mid-October, according to my local extension office. So I don't need them right now anyways. And that's about the time that I'll start the onion seeds inside, and I'm going to transplant them out later. And then hopefully the garlic comes in. This is a new vegetable I'm starting this year. It's a rutabaga. I believe in other parts of the world it's known as a swede. I don't know anything about these, but they seem to be doing well in my garden so far. This is the only variety I have. So stay tuned and we'll see how they do. I have this seed for Chinese broccoli. It didn't do very well for me last year. I didn't start any this year. I'm gonna keep it. I'm not gonna throw away seeds, and maybe I'll just throw some out there and direct sow them in the beds in a little bit. I'm only growing one type of cabbage this year. It's early Jersey Wakefield. It's a very common cabbage variety. I'm very excited to make sauerkraut when these come to fruition. I didn't grow these last year, so this is a new one for me. Two types of broccoli I have this year. The Desicho, this one. Grew it last year. It did fairly well. I'm growing it again this year, and I'm also growing this hybrid from Johnny Seeds that is more heat tolerant than this variety, which I'm excited to see how that does this year. So both of these are in the garden. This is my first time growing Brussels sprouts as well. I have the Catskill Long Island Improved This is a new, I don't even know if these have been focusing for you the whole time. This is a new seed for me. I don't know why that's in here. Oh goodness, I forgot. I have a third broccoli variety this year. Waltham 29. I'm also growing this cauliflower variety, the only variety I have. I have not had good luck with cauliflower in the past. This year's a new year, so we're trying it again. And peas. So I grew peas last year all through the winter, and it got a little too cold for them to produce. They lived, they just didn't grow very well. So I'm gonna try them this year. I already did, and they're already growing and they're doing amazing. So I'm so excited, and hopefully I'll get some peas before the hard cold weather comes in November and December. I am growing several varieties. So one is this Lincoln pea. It's a bush habit pea. The other is the DeGrasse or DeGrace. It's a snow pea. It's also a bush habit, I believe, or a low vining type. Sugar Daddy pea is a snap pea as well. I've grown this one and the DeGrasse pea or DeGrace pea before. I grew them last year. And these are dwarf vining peas. And then this one is the vining type that I am growing on my arch trellises for the winter. Laxton's Progress number 9. I'm very excited to try this. And we'll see how they do. I love this little organizational thing. You see everyone needs in them now. But it is really convenient. All right, on to the root crops, which frankly, I'm not growing very many of. I have a terrible time germinating root crops because of the very arid conditions here. The top inch of soil tends to dry out very quickly, and I can cover them in mulch to keep it moist, but then sunlight won't reach the seedling, so it's a catch-22. But I have had some success this year with carrots and radishes, and I'm gonna try some more. I'm waiting till it cools down a little bit during the day because we're still getting into the low 90s and high 80s, and then I'll probably direct sow several of these into the garden if I can find space. All right, so I have so many carrot varieties. A lot of these are free seed varieties from Baker Creek, and I don't know which ones I'm going to end up planting, but I will show you all of the varieties that I have that may end up in my garden. So, here I have the Yellowstone carrot from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. Also, the Danvers 126. The Uzbek Golden. The Scarlet Nantes, St. Valerie, Solar Yellow. My goodness, was that it? As for all these carrots, I haven't had success with carrots in the past, so I can't tell you how any of them work here. I do know that I did buy these, especially this year, from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange in the hopes that they would do better in my climate than other varieties I have, but we will see. I have several types of radishes, which have all been unsuccessful. Oh, well, that's the same one. The early Scarlet Globe, an Easter egg blend, and then this, if you see in my previous video, I showed you guys the radishes that are up in my new raised bed. These are the Sora radishes from Johnny Seeds. They are supposed to be better in hot climates, and they actually did germinate. And I have little radishes this big in my garden, and that's the biggest I've ever had, and I'm so excited about it. So, anyways, A+ for that so far. I have some purple top turnips, which I have been successful with last year. or no, the first year, so 2 years ago, I was successful with turnips. I've been largely unsuccessful with beets, but I do want to try and grow them again. I have 2 varieties, the Detroit Dark Red and Bull's Blood. So I'm excited to try both of those as well. Now I don't want to hear anyone, now I don't want anyone to hear me talk about how unsuccessful I've been with a lot of these seeds and think that it's really hard to garden, because it's not, and I'm not a bad gardener. And you know, seasonal failures don't make you a bad gardener either. I am in year 2 of owning this property, and I love to experiment, and I am constantly learning about what works here, what doesn't work here, and how I can improve. And I think that you can only do that through trial and error, and largely my gardening time here has been a great success. And I don't think you should necessarily be a safe gardener, because if you don't experiment, then you'll really never grow. You'll just stay stagnant, and I want to grow. So now on to all the lettuce varieties, which I am so glad to get started, because it is too hot here in the summers to grow lettuce besides Malabar spinach and amaranth, the leaf amaranth version, which frankly aren't lettuce. So I have several varieties here, which I'll just list off to you. Nero Toscana kale, if you can, okay, which is also known as dino kale. I have cardinal chard. I also have rainbow chard in here somewhere. Little Caesar romaine lettuce. Merlot lettuce. Russian red, ragged jack kale. Several of these varieties you can see in my garden tour previously, which is linked down below. Except I mix up my lettuce seeds constantly, so I don't actually know what's planted where in my garden, except that it's lettuce and I eat it in a salad. So this is Little Caesar romaine. Oh no, sorry. That's Paris Island Cos. Goodness, okay. It's a salad blend, Rocky Top lettuce. So what I'll do is, I don't use this as a baby greens mix or a smaller cut and come again mix. I'll actually separate out each seed in this blend and just grow it as an individual head of lettuce. This is one of my favorites. I can actually distinguish this one. It's called Freckles lettuce, and it is the cutest head of lettuce when it grows. This is adorable. Also, very pretty is the black seeded Simpson. Guess that's it. Oh goodness, I thought I had more to show you guys. The fall garden is significantly smaller than the summer garden. Mostly with the fall garden, I'll succession sow for as long as possible. So I start, you know, my first round of broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and lettuce and all these things maybe August 1st, around then, and then 2 weeks later I'll sow some more lettuce and such, and then 2 weeks later I'll sow another round of cabbage. And since all these plants withstand a frost, I can carry them longer into the winter, as long as they're established before that first frost comes. Well, that's all I have for you guys. That's all the seeds I'm growing in regards to edible fall crops. I have started some herbs, which I won't pull out, but I'll just let you know what they are, because all of them are frost hardy. So calendula is one, yarrow, chamomile. I already have rosemary growing out in the garden, which is a perennial, and it'll last all winter here in zone 8A. I also have mint. If you guys have any questions or would like a full comprehensive list of all the crops that I'm growing here in my high desert garden, just drop me an email or a message or hit me up on Instagram or something and let me know, and I'll provide that list for you. Otherwise, stay tuned on the channel. Give a like and a subscribe if you want to see more, and we will see how all of these plants do in the upcoming winter. Thanks.